The ruling class, the social engineers, are here to divide and conquer us. They stage economic, military, and terror events like the Gulf of Tonkin to get us into Vietnam. And there's no doubt that if you study the 9/11 event, you know it's an inside job. I remember the Rand Corporation, PNAC with Dick Cheney, and countless others saying in 2000, 2001 that we need giant Pearl Harbor events. Zbigniew Brzezinski said the same thing. We need giant terror attacks to sell a domestic police state and a global empire for the corporations that own America. America was conquered a long time ago. And if we're not honest about this, we're not going to be able to fix it. And the Democratic Party's run by these banks. The Republican Party's run by these banks. But somebody who I've always seen who has incredible courage, who I've admired, frontline civil rights activists, beaten, arrested, with Martin Luther King, Dick Gregory. And I remember in the 80s and the 90s, he led the charge exposing CIA crack cocaine. Later got declassified, admitted in the 1996 CIA Inspector General hearings in Congress. I watched them on C-SPAN. I was on air by then. I covered it on the radio and TV. But they still come out in the media and say it's a conspiracy theory. Now on Fox News, this is coming up later in the next hour, they come on and say, yeah, we're growing the opium. What's the big deal? So they hide all this in plain view. They think you're stupid. And Dick Gregory has now put his major gravitas out there on the line again and is on a hunger strike for a real investigation of the controlled demolition of Tower 1, 2, and 7. And we don't just have the former German defense minister or the number 3 guy in the Japanese government going public or thousands and thousands of engineers and physicists and scientists or the police on video on CNN saying, get back, they're going to blow up Building 7. I mean, it's hidden in plain view. They count on you not having the courage to be able to admit this. And if they can get away with that, they'll get away with telling you core exit's not bad for you, the EPA and Obama in the Gulf, as people drop dead and get sick. Like they told you the dust wasn't bad for you on Ground Zero. It's not just they don't care about you, they like hurting you and then denying you medical care. It's the same thing with the depleted uranium, as I said before the break. You've got to really get it how predatory and wicked these people are. And that our children and our society has no future if we don't say no. So Dick Gregory joins us for the rest of the hour. We're very, very honored to have the civil rights icon on with us today. And he says he's got some breaking news before we get into why he's going public for 9/11 Truth. Mr. Gregory, we salute your courage.
Thank you, my brother. Peace and love to you. And just let me say there's a whole lot of us out here that get trashed by the New York Times and the Washington Post. But as long as there's a brother and a human being like you that lifts us up, we say, well, I can't say what you really want to say, but the New York Times can do. But I've always said, if I could be born over again and name myself, you know what I name myself? Conspiracy theorist, Gregory. Because I've always felt that my truth don't have to be validated by somebody else's ignorance.
That's right. And when they use the term conspiracy theory, it's a label meaning don't listen to that guy.
Yes. Well, the greatest conspiracy, see, a lot of people think conspiracy theories just started, but I go back to day one, and I'm a devout Christian, okay, whatever that means. And it's kind of funny. You can go all over the world and go to red light district, and you can recognize a prostitute by their demeanor. But if I don't tell you I'm a Christian, you don't know it. Got to be something wrong with that, right?
Absolutely.
But when I sit and I look at my Bible, and it says that in the beginning there was one person named Adam. Now we're not talking about who made you. We're not talking about Buddha, Muhammad, or Christ. This is one person created by the same force that created the universe. And one day he said to God, I am lonely. And when God didn't say, shut up, you can't be lonely, ain't nobody here but you, then that's when the conspiracy theory started. Once we let them get by with that. And then they told me, hey, we killed your Jesus on Friday, so I want you to call it a good day. So I call it Good Friday and don't have no problem with that. And so last night, a story broke out of Memphis yesterday. I didn't get it till late, and I've been up all night calling folks with radio and to announce last night. And for those of you that's listening, and Brother John, let me say to you, money is not power, education is not power, but information is power. And if I give you bad information, you have bad power. And that's what America, it wasn't that America started off. It's always handled it like that. We just beginning to see it now because of people like you and people who's willing to lay their life on the line to say, hey, this is what this is all about. Now, we got a hard job to do because if you look at the stats, America is 1/6 of the world's population, but we consume 94% of the world's hard drugs. That's not counting alcohol, nicotine, and caffeine. So when you realize what we got to work with, it is totally insane and crazy. And so again, I say thanks to you. The story that broke, it was an African American. Well, no, it was a Negro man in the early days of the Civil Rights Movement. He was a photographer. And I tell those of you all that's listening that participate in Google, look this up so when you get off to finish the show. The Memphis, the number one morning paper in Memphis, the Memphis Appeal. The guy's name is Ernest-Withers. He have been documenting the Civil Rights Movement. He's respected all over the world. And the story that broke yesterday is photographer Ernie Weathers doubled as FBI informant to spy on the Civil Rights Movement. So when you think about the people that have died, the people who have been framed, the people that have gone to jail, and you look back at this human being. Now, here's more bothering than that. Here's when they asked Andy Young about it. Andy Young, who was one of King's trusted lieutenants, Andy Young said that Andy, they quote Andy, now 78, said, it isn't bothering that Withers secretly worked as an informant with sniping with protecting the Civil Rights Movement. I always liked him. He was a good photographer. And then he says, what's wrong with him, brother, making some extra money? I don't think Dr. King would have mind him making a little money on the side. Now, let me tell you, if the Ku Klux Klan said that, or a white conservative Republican said that, decent people would be out of their mind. But a thug like Andy Young can say that with admiration. That's like somebody said, oh, Hitler was a good photographer. And so again, when you look at this, and I've called my researchers, we fixing this.
Well, they're telling us that being a betrayer, being a Judas Iscariot, being a Benedict Arnold, being a spy is a good thing, and that you should be proud of being treacherous. I mean, it's just like they tell us torture is good, or preemptive wars are good. They're selling us pure evil, and now exercising evil out in the open, like they come out and say, yeah, we're growing the opium. Yeah, we're shipping the drugs in. Yeah, we put out fake bin Laden videos. I mean, the CIA came out, and they're just training us to accept pure evil.
You know, when you have somebody answer a question like that, it sounds like they're covering themselves for the day when theirs will come out. Okay? There's no way the number one assassination in the history of planet Earth was the king. And I say that because of the news media. There's many assassinations, but nobody got to see them with your eyes. And here's a man that's part of that. Next to him, one of his close advisors, here's a photographer that was more than a photographer. He was trusted. He sit in the room. He was giving Hoover all the plans, what was going to happen, when it was going to happen, and he was heavily involved in the last day of King's life.
This is incredible. So you're saying, is that the same photographer that took the famous shots of Jesse Jackson pointing?
Yes. Yes.
That guy was a federal informant, and we know the government was involved in killing Martin Luther King. This is incredible.
You know, when you stop and think, but here's what else is incredible. If you go back, you remember that famous shot, right?
Yes.
Now, think about, if you and I stand on the balcony and a shot come out, are we going to hit the ground?
Yes.
Because we don't know if there's going to be another shot, right?
Yes.
So why was that group standing up pointing up the wrong direction when the shot really came from the ground? Unless they knew it wasn't going to be another shot.
Well, that's the word I've gotten about, well, there's been some questions about Mr. Jackson.
There's been a lot of questions about Jackson. There's been a lot of questions about a whole lot of people. When you read this article, there'll start being questions about Benjamin Hooks. There'll start being questions about a whole lot of people in that movement who nobody ever suspected. Because let me tell you how I get tricked. I grew up in the Baptist church, okay? I grew up seeing pictures of Judas. And Judas, they told me when I was a little boy, Judas portrayed Jesus Christ, and Judas always had this strange look on his face. So when you see that as a little boy, you say anybody that's working as an informant, you can tell. This guy was so kind and peaceful and loving. And so now the whole Judas thing, Judas has a new face now. And so when you stop and think about, and when you read that article, you will see a whole lot of folks that they ask questions to. The invaders, it is what happened.
Yeah, you're saying a lot of other inner people are acting suspicious and saying, hey, there's no big deal being a federal informant. And as you're saying, that shows that the evidence is they don't feel guilty because they did it too. Mr. Gregory, stay there. We've got a quick break coming up. I want to finish up with this and then get into your going public for 9/11 Truth. Dick Gregory is our guest, civil rights icon, amazing intel on the Martin Luther King assassination. It's all coming up. We'll give you the headline on the news article as well when we return. Stay with us.